Hey, it's James, Father's Rights and Resources, hashtag how I got custody. It's spring break for some people, and there's still spring break coming up next week. If I'm a dad and my baby's mom is withholding the child from me or telling me, okay, you could see the kid, but only for, a couple days. Like you could have the kid on Friday, bring the kid back to me Saturday morning. If the kid's in school and it's spring break, I'm going to keep the kid all spring break if I don't have a court order. I get new people on here, and I've talked about this before, and I continually talk to men who the baby's mom doesn't let them see the kid, but they'll tell me she won't let me have the kid for more than 2 hours. She won't let me have the kid for more than a weekend. My first question to you, if you're in this situation, you don't have a court order. My first question to you, and you're on the birth certificate, and you're not you're smart enough to get on the birth certificate if you know the kid is yours or doing DNA tests or whatever. Got some guys, they haven't been on the birth certificate 5 or 6 years. The mother could take off and you've got no rights at all to, she'll lie and say you're kidnapping the kid because you're not on the birth certificate. I know a guy who was in Georgia. He took his kid to California, and in Georgia law, the mother automatically has custody until you get on the birth certificate or until you get actually there's a term for it, until you go through their process. It's one of the two stupid backwoods states that say you don't have any rights until you go to court to get the rights, and it's backwards. But in any case, he got arrested. They did a writ of habeas corpus. They got the kid and then dragged him back to Georgia to prosecute him. He wasn't on the birth certificate. He's so stupid he didn't get on the birth certificate. I got other guys who don't get on the birth certificate, and it's an easy step. All the two parents have to do is sign paternity affidavits. Or there's guys who are on the birth certificate and they don't have a copy of it. Some states you got to file a birth certificate or a paternity affidavit, like in Washington, and start a case. And like, I don't have a birth certificate. Why the hell do you not have a birth certificate for your kid? If your kid has a birth certificate and social security number, why the hell do you not know that stuff? Because you're a lazy, shiftless bum and you deferred to the mothers. Stop being a lazy, shiftless bum little bitch and be proactive in knowing the stuff for your kid. You know why I could say this? Because as soon as my daughter was born, I made sure I got a copy of that. I made sure I got a copy of her social security number. If I have a driver's license, I'm going to get a copy of it. If I'm responsible for a kid, I'm going to get a copy of every document that has to do with that kid. I'm not a lazy, shiftless bum bitch and grew up in a single mom home where mommy did everything. And so I'm going to let my baby's mom do everything. If we're not together, I'm going to have copies of everything. That's what grown ups do. Paper trails, documentation. Anyway, you're in a situation. You obey your baby's mom like she's your mommy or Lord and Savior. And she says, like before when you were together, you would take the kid to the park and be gone all day. Or when you were together, she'd go out with her girlfriends and you'd watch the kid all night. But now she won't let you see the kid for more than 1 or 2 hours. And she says, bring the kid back to me. And you come running back like a good little bitch slave and you obey her, right? And so here's how the conversation usually goes. I'll ask a guy, how come you don't just keep the kid longer or all weekend? Or with spring break coming up, why don't you just keep the kid the whole spring break? You haven't seen the kid overnight, or sometimes after you separate, you guys, maybe you get a new girlfriend. You have the kid every other weekend, and she pulls the plug on that. Or you were sharing the kid 50-50. You got a new girlfriend, so she pulls the plug on that. And you give the kid back when your baby's mom orders you to, and you are a good little obedient slave. Okay, so I'll ask your dad, how come you don't just keep the kid longer? Oh, I can get in trouble. She can call the cops. Isn't that kidnapping? Okay, you just told me that a couple months ago you would have the kid all weekend long and overnight. You didn't have a court order, or I don't have custody. I don't have a court order. Well, neither does she, stupid jackass. You're not thinking like twice. You're automatically thinking your first instinct is a fearful thought. So let me be a little bitch to my fearful thoughts instead of thinking, wait a minute, we don't have a court orders and I don't have custody, but she doesn't have custody either. That's an immediate common sense, deductive reasoning, logical thought. But most bitch-made effeminate men are in their bitch-made feelings. And if you don't like this language, then go somewhere else where they talk real nice and don't tell you how to grow some balls and actually fight for your kid. So if you, I've had guys who, like, just a couple weeks earlier, they were seeing the kid all weekend. They call me, I can only see the kid for a couple hours. What is your court order say? Oh, we don't have a court order. She just won't let me. I mean, what do you mean she won't let you? If you keep your kid longer, how is she making the kid come back or grabbing the kid, picking? No, she just tells me. And so you're a good little obedient bitch slave. So you bring the kid back. But just a few weeks ago or a few months ago or when you guys were together, you could have the kid on your own without supervision. But now you're afraid to keep the kid longer than her orders. What's the difference between, ask yourself, what's the difference between now and a few weeks ago or a month ago, or when she would let you have the kid unsupervised as long as you want? Or when you're together, say, honey, I'm going to take Junior to the park, or we're going to go to the movies, or we're going to go to, my brother's house, 100 miles away and stay the night. No problem then. What's the difference then and now? There is no difference. You didn't have a court order then. Let's say you're not married. You didn't have a court order then, or even if you were married. Back then, you weren't afraid the cops or the SWAT team was going to jump around the corner and pull some guns on you and then say, what's up? You're acting like the father of your own kid. You're going to jail. What's the difference between then and now when you were seeing the kid overnight or saw the kid longer? The only difference is that she changed her mind or you guys aren't getting along, and so she gives you an order. And you're saying it's a crime to do what you just did a few months ago. How come you weren't afraid to go to jail a few months ago? Because you had the permission from the mommy, which is your mommy, which is your Lord and Savior, which is your slave master, in your own little warped, bitch-made mind. Now again, Michigan and Georgia have laws on that particular stuff. Those are unconstitutional laws. The Constitution says you have a right to be free and do whatever you want in life, and the government can't be involved unless you're committing a crime. So guys will say, oh, this is another thing guys will say, well, she'll call the cops on me. And I'll say, for what crime? I don't know, I just was worried. So you're a bitch-made paranoid schizophrenic and paranoid of a law that you don't even know exists. Good one. See, we make up these paranoias in our head because we're brainwashed to think mothers have custody, and we don't think twice. We would just want to be a Neanderthal caveman who can't think beyond the initial emotional triggered response that we have. Then I'll say, okay, if she can call the cops on you for keeping the kid longer than she wants, and you want to see the kid longer, why don't you do the same thing and apply the same thing to her and call the cops on her? Oh, I never thought of that. So if somebody steals your car, and somebody else, you steal somebody's car, you're worried to go into jail, they steal your car, you don't think they can go to jail? See, this is how bitch-made we are. We say it's a crime if I do something. If the mom does it, I don't think I can call the cops. Or what guys will say is, I already tried to call the cops, and they said that they can't do anything because it's a civil matter. So look at what a stupid, dumbed-down, moronic, airheaded jackass you're being. And I'm saying this to wake you the hell up because you're being stupid and you're being a cowardly little bitch. You're saying, if I keep my child from the mom for a long time or a little bit, it's criminal. Okay, so what you're saying is it's criminal for a parent to withhold a child from the other parent, and we're equal society, we both have equal rights. Why don't you call the cops on her? Oh, I didn't think about that. Because you're stupid and coward, and your inner bitch is taking over. And then, some of you will tell me, oh, I tried to call the cops and they can't do anything. So you're afraid that she's going to call the cops on you, and you just heard from the cops that they can't do anything. So you just want to be a little bitch. You're giving all these excuses to obey the mother, and you're covering for your bitch made. You won't stand up and grow some balls, and you're giving yourself an excuse because you don't want any drama with the mother because you're scared of the baby's mom like a bitch. Just admit that. If you're going to be that, then just admit that. Don't say that you want your kids because you don't want to stand your ground and you don't want any drama. You're scared to death of a little bit of drama maybe trauma from your mom, whatever. Grow some balls and stand up and keep your kids when you have a legal right to do so.